सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। We are in the 9th shloka. We had seen up until the 76th word, but we will continue the entire shloka. Please repeat after me. ईश्वरो विक्रमी धन्वी, ईश्वरो विक्रमी धन्वी, मेधावी विक्रमक्रमः, मेधावी विक्रमक्रमः, अनुत्तमो दुराधर्षः, अनुत्तमो दुराधर्षः, कृतज्ञः कृतिरात्मवान्, तज्ञः कृतिरात्मवान्. So we had seen yesterday that why Paramatma is called Ishvara, why Bhagavan Vishnu is called Ishvara. Ishvaraha Sarva Shakti Mattaya. He is called Ishvara because of the capacity to hold all the three Shaktis together. Ichha Shakti, Jnana Shakti and Kriya Shakti. Vikrami, he is called Vikrami because he is the Trivikrama. He had the special steps in context of Raja Bali. He had these three steps with which he consumed the upper world, the lower world, the upper world, the Bhuloka and the head of Bali. There are three steps. Now, as in Ramayana there is this reference that as Vamana avatar Bhagavan Vishnu was busy taking care of Bali and the underworld, Jambavan says that when Bhagavan had taken the Trivikrama avatar, when he was busy taking these three steps, within that time of taking those three steps, Jambavan, when he was still young, he had gone around the Bhuloka within those three steps time, 7 times. He says, now that I am old, I will not be able to jump from this side of India to that side of Lanka. That huge step was the step of the Lord. Therefore, he was called Trivikrami or Vikrami. Vishesha Krama, Vishesha steps, special steps, specially meant for King Bali, Bali Chakravarti. Dhanvi, Dhanvi, in Bhagavad Gita it says that Ramaha Shastra Bhritamaham, that I am among the wielders of bow and arrow, I am the strongest one, as in the Ramavatara. Ramavatara, this Bhagavad Gita was told by Bhagavan Krishna to Arjuna himself. Now, Bhagavan did not take Arjuna's name as the greatest bow wielder. He said, better than you. There was I myself in that avatara as Bhagavan Rama, who had. So there is this beautiful incident wherein Sugriva is a very doubtful person. Not that he was basically a doubtful person, but he had grown up to become that way. because he was constantly under the fear of his life. Constantly. Bali had chased him across the entire world. Finally, he had some solace in the Rishi Mukha Parvata. There is this Rama and Lakshmana who are searching for Sita ji. Sita ji was abducted. So Sugriva sees this, two young ascetics. And how are these ascetics? If you look at the beautiful painting behind me, they were looking young and robust. That they had wide shoulders, wide chest, long arms, and a muscular shoulder. This doesn't look like an ascetic, because ascetics are supposed to be lean, frail, and but they look so charming and so agile that it feels like they have been in the gym all through their life. When a Kshatriya has to be constantly doing that kind of exercise. So they had that beautiful Kshatriya body. No wonder Bali has stooped down to this level, that he has hired killers to kill me. So what do you call them? The hired killers is not a new concept. Even in Ramayana time, they had this concept, and he was feeling threatened that these two who have come must be coming only in search of me. When you have that kind of a prana bhaya, even a leaf falling somewhere, you will be trembling that, maybe somebody was walking by and there was this. So he sees these two and he says, "Chalo, let us run from here. They look really, quite capable. I may get killed. So let us run from here." So Hanumanji goes, talks to Bhagavan Ramchandraji, and identifies him as the, Ayodhyapati in exile. And knowing the prowess of the Lord, because of his curse which got lifted by the touch of the Lord. While he was young, he was so mischievous that a rishi had given him a shapa, a curse, that until your entire capacities are required by the Lord for whom you will be serving, until then you will forget all your strength. Because he is creating such a havoc even as a child. It is too difficult for them to contain this little Hanuman. And he said, "How will I know?" He said, "When Bhagavan touches you and gives you the blessing of Chiranjeevatva, then you understand Chiranjeevatva, immortality. And when he touches you, you will see that transformation in yourself, you will recollect everything." So he immediately understood that this was the Lord. So he said, "What a beautiful opportunity. If I can bring this Lord and my other boss, Sugriva, I bring them together, it will be the best match, that Sugriva will get justice." So I said, "Bhagavan, you have to climb all the way up." And Bhagavan said, "Bahut thak gaya hu baba. I've been walking all the way, again you want me to climb?" I said, "Don't worry." He said, "Get onto my shoulders. Sit on my either shoulders, one side Rama, one side Lakshmana." Here Sugriva, Hanumanji was in quite a predicament. From there, if he made any signal to Sugriva, he may misunderstand because he is already scared. If he says, "I am coming," he may understand that, go away. He may never know how he would understand. The best thing is, before he realizes what is happening, if I can quickly carry them to Sugriva, without giving an opportunity to Sugriva to think or even doubt. The next best opportunity is not walk with them, then Sugriva will run away, far away from me. So what I can do is I can carry them on my shoulders and quickly fly before Sugriva can fly from there. So he gives the Pavanahans, air Pavanahans. the first flight. So he takes Hanumanji takes Ramji and Lakshmanji, and Sugriva thought, in a split second he sees that Hanumanji is coming flying towards him with Rama and Lakshmana on his shoulders. I thought Hanuman was my best friend, my best advisor. He is also sold. He is also been bought over by Wali, that he is bringing the enemies directly to my den, to my hideout. So before he could any further process the entire event, Hanumanji was already there. And the first thing he says, I have brought 2 friends for you. Before he can start screaming and jumping around. So they meet and they become friends. And Bhagwan, after hearing Sugriva's story, he says, I make you the king of Kishkinda. Sugriva is not still satisfied. He still has his own doubts. Because Vali, he knows his power. That even Ravana was unable to defeat Vali. And at that time, both Vali and Ravana were quite young. And Vali had, put the Ravana in bound with just his tail. And he had rotated him all around the world hanging by his tail. He knows, Sugriva knows what kind of powerful person Bali is. And he said, I am not very convinced yet. So he takes him across and he says, there is one, test, O Lord, that the one who passes this test alone can kill Vali. Saptatala Bhetra. So one of the names of Bhagavan Ramchandraji is Saptatala Bhetre Namaha. Tala means date. Not date, but what you call them in... जिसमें से टॉडी निकलता है, नीरा. Palm. So one of the varieties of that palm tree, which grows quite extensively in all the seashores, coastal areas back in. So there were these 7 huge tall tala meaning that palm tree. Anybody who can shoot an arrow which can pierce through all the 7 with one single arrow. And Bhagavan, very effortlessly he aims at it, and one arrow pierces through all the 7, and all the 7 palm trees are like shredded into pieces. Then Sugriva is convinced. Okay, you are the right person then. Until he saw that power of Ramchandraji in his bow and arrow, he was not convinced. That is the great Dhanvan. Dhanvan, the one who is holding the bow and arrow. This bow and arrow was a gift. That particular bow was a gift from Bhagavan Shiva to Ramchandraji. Kodanda is the actual bow of Bhagavan Shiva, and he had gifted him that. Use it on my behalf. So he was the Kodanda Grahi or Kodandi, Kodandin. So he was holding that Kodanda. He is the greatest Dhanvan. Dhanvan, the one who wields that bow and arrow. Now the entire Rudra Prashna, the first few mantras, first 15 mantras is a prayer to Dhanvan, the one who is wielding the bow and arrow, the one who is constantly doing mistakes. For them, the one who is holding the bow and arrow seems to be very threatening. So those who come to the Lord, there are different kinds of people. One kind of people, those who come with bhakti and shraddha, and those who come out of bhaya, fear. There are both kinds of people. So, few years ago I was at Tirupati temple, and lucky me that I had like a 5 foot away darshan for the entire Abhisheka because there was no crowd. Unbelievable even for myself. There was no crowd at all. So the priests themselves said, you are lucky that there is nobody, there is no rush. So stay. So we stayed. We were 5 of us. So we stayed and we had a nice darshan. And a nice Abhisheka and everything was done. So while coming down, we had walked up the hill and we were walking down the hill. The discussion, as we were coming down, the rush started increasing. And it was like, specially meant for that 1/2 an hour slot wherein there was no crowd. As we turned around and there was a huge line coming in. Wait, why does this kind of crowd come in? I said, there are only 2 kinds of people who come to the Lord. Those who come with bhakti and those who come out of bhaya. Both come to the Lord. And both see that dhanush and bana of the Lord, the bow and arrow of the Lord, totally with different perspective. One sees it as threatening because of the guilt of the fear of all the wrongdoings that they have done. And the other one who comes with bhakti, he comes with such reassurance that Bhagavan has picked this bow and arrow, definitely not for me. For anybody who disturbs me, he'll take care of them. He is with that confidence of bhakti. Dhanvan, he comes down into this world to protect paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha rakshasam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. To protect dharma, to uproot all the evil and protect the sadhu. Bhagavan comes in various forms and the most prominent one is in the form of Bhagavan Ramchandraji. Ishvaro vikrami dhanvi medhavi vikramakramaha. Medhavi means extremely intelligent, supremely intelligent. Medhavi. In the place where I come from, for the scholars, there is a scholastic test. And it is called, the technical word for that in Sanskrit is called avadhana. Avadhana, a test for memory. The basic test, I am not talking about a test in type of, you memorize a couple of 100,000 slokas or something and then you start repeating them by the number or whatever the people have tested you for. No, it is not that kind of a test. It's a much intense test. A simpler format I'll try to explain. It is called Ashta Avadhana. 8 methods to test the memory. So, one tests their skill with language. One tests their Vyakarana grammar. The other tests their skill of Chanda, poetry. The other tests their patience. There is one among the 8 is a guy who is also equally a learned scholar. But he is such a pain because his job is to constantly distract that one who is being tested. Constantly. He'll keep distracting him from various questions, various unrelated questions he'll keep asking, and while answering the rest 7, he cannot avoid this 8 to 1. He has to first prioritize answering him and then answer the rest of them. And it is not that they will ask the entire set of questions in one go. Sometimes this Ashtavadhana, and I have seen it for even 3 days continuous. The test continues for 3 days. So like for example, the Anushtup Chandas, the poetry, even this particular stotra that we are chanting, is in Anushtup Chandas. The meter is Anushtup. Anushtup has 4 quarters. Each quarter has got 8 syllables in it. And each syllable has got a certain sequencing to it. That there is the Dirgha and Hraswa, the 5th and the 7th, and the second line, 3rd and the 5th, and there is a combination of it. So the first fellow says, in Anushtup Chandas, in just 4 lines, give me the entire Ramayana. Now the second question asked is, while you are constructing that Ramayana, make sure that in these 4 quarters, Tavarga and Pavarga are not used. Ta, tha, da, dha, na, pa, pa, ba, bha, ma are not used. Then the third fellow says, they are all scholars, they have gone through this. And the third scholar, he asks, he says that the Hraswa and Laghu should not be repetitive. That if you say one place you use Ra, it should not be repeated anywhere in the shloka again. And there are some specific people where they say, while you are at it, make sure you do include this word as some English word or a Telugu word or a Tamil word. He'll say one word and say, make sure you include it meaningfully in that. And as they are asking this question, there is this fellow who is sitting there. Do you know what time it is? Can you put it in a poetic form? Can you put it in a prasa? Prasa means, for example, where there is one syllable which is constantly repeated. Like, for example, in Tulsidas ji, he says, Lal deh lali lase arudhari lal langur, Vajra deh danav dalana, Jay 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 kapisur. So, Lal deh lali lase arudhari lal langur, la 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 lal lal. It is so repeated, but it is not the same thing. Like our for Susamskritam, when we were researching, there was this beautiful shloka. Ya 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 ya. It's all just one syllable, ya. Just one syllable used, and that is called prasa. So you may say that, can you explain today's weather in a prasa of one particular syllable that he picks? He has to answer that, remember all these sequences of questions and keep repeating it. And they test the skill of that person, that person's knowledge in Vyakarana, Chanda, Siksha, then the Puranas, Itihasa, Ramayana, Mahabharata, both put together. And the Shad Darshana, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, and Mimamsa, the Yoga Shastra, all put together, they test him at that level. And once they pass that, it's a thrill for, there are people who are invited to come and enjoy that. And for us to sit and enjoy it, you have to carry a notebook. Because you have to sequentially write down all the questions and sequentially write down all the disturbances and make sure that he is going through the sequence of it. And once I have done it, that 3-day long one, I had to use up the entire 100 pages notebook to follow it through. And all this he has to do with his mind without using a paper and pen. And then he is given the title as Ashtavadhani. Avadhani, the memory. The greatest Medhavi, the greatest memory is of the Lord. Just to give you a certain glimpse of it. What is a glimpse? How much is the population of just the species called Homo sapiens right now? 7 billion plus. The 7 billion people, what each one is thinking, doing, and what intentions that they are maintaining. He is the Sakshi of everything, he is recording everything, he is understanding and noting down everything. And accordingly, based on what we do, with what intentions we do, and with what intensity we do or not do things, gets recorded, and accordingly the phala of what we do, he has to release that phala. Imagine how much memory you must have had just to remember all this and make sure that justice is done. And it can happen only with the Lord. And that is why he is called Medhavi, the supreme intelligence, awesome memory. The word awesome doesn't feel right there, because it is far beyond excellence. So Medhavi, and that is why they say that Saraswati ji, because he is that Medhavi, Saraswati ji is his, like dancing on his tongue, or his very tongue is the form of Devi Saraswati, because he is that Medhavi. Ishvaro Vikrami Dhanvi Medhavi Vikramaha. Vikramaha Vikramaha means the one. V means Vihaga or Vihanga. Vihaga means a bird. And when I was reading this, that is when somewhere it in one of the research materials that in the, do you know what is the German airlines called? Right? So what it means is Lufthansa. Hansa means the swan. Luft means that which is the Hansa, like flow or flight. Flight like Hamsa. Lufthansa. Pure Sanskrit origin of that word. Similarly, Vihaga is Garuda. And on Garuda is Bhagavan constantly traveling. Now Garudaji is also the representative of Vedas. And through the Vedas, Bhagavan flies into our life. Through the scriptures, he comes into our life as the knowledge of that scripture. So they say that when the Guru initiates, he may not even initiate into the entire Vedic literature. He would just initiate into the beginning. And once initiated and we do the abhyasa, the rest of the knowledge comes in like a flow. Because Bhagavan comes in through the knowledge of the Vihaga. And that krama meaning that steps that he takes to get into the life of the seeker and take him closest to the Lord himself. Because of that krama, because of that process, he is also known as Vikrama. Vikrami, Vikramaha. There is a slight difference and the meaning totally changes. Ishvaro Vikrami Dhanvi Medhavi Vikramaha and Kramaha. Kramaha means the one who is all pervading. He is called Kramaha. Kramanat Kramahetutvat va Kramaha. Kramaha meaning, like the entire Purusha Sukta says, Atyatishthad dashangulam Purusha yevedagam sarvam yad bhutam yaccha bhavyam Atyatishthati dasha angulam. Though pervading into the entire universe, he is untouched by the universe. Atyatishthati dasha angulam. So there are two kinds of meanings. One meaning is, how many directions do we have? 10 directions. North, east, west, south, northeast, northwest, southeast, southwest. And then up and down. Adaha, adaha and urdhvam. So we have 10 different directions. Atyatishthati. Atyatishthati, the one who is just beyond the 10 directions. He is the 11th dimension. Nowadays we hear the science speak about the 11th dimension. Purusha Sukta has already been saying it. Atyatishthati, the one who is just beyond these 10 dimensions. And the second meaning is, Paramatma, it goes to the same word, agrahyaha. We had seen that couple of days ago. We think that we have grasped the concept of Paramatma. And as far as we can stretch our intellect, Atyatishthati angulaha. He is just like, 10 inches away from you. While you are listening to, that's what we used to feel when we used to listen to Gurudev. It was such crystal clear clarity that you would be amazed. Wow. It was like, you understood Paramatma. You step out of that satsang. What was he saying? It was so clear then. I don't know what happened. It almost feels that, that illusory kind of a clarity, that it comes but it is lost. Kramaha, that which is pervading, but yet that which is just not becoming the world. Though supports it, but does not become. That kind of processed one is called Kramaha. Ishvaro vikrami dhanvi medhavi vikrama kramaha anuttamaha. This is one name that throws many people off, because uttama means it is a language of comparison, superlative term used. Tara tama, uttara, and then uttama. Uttama, something which is the best. But here, if uttama means something which is the best, anuttama should mean anuttama. Anuttama meaning not the best. Just in the last week, Sannyasa Diksha, one of our Swamijis who was initiated, his name is Anuttamananda. So technically it should mean not best Ananda. But technically it should mean, pathetic Ananda. Sad Ananda. One of our other Swamiji's name is Swami Sadanandji. So at least it used to happen then, I don't know now, I have not been in India for 10 years now. So when I had reserved for his train ticket, I was searching for his name, it was not to be found. Swami Sadananda. So they usually write it like Sadananda Swami. So I was searching for his name, and the Sadananda was truncated because that many characters it doesn't fill in. So it was like Sad Swami. Ananda is gone. English has its own problem, Baba. So, no, Anuttamananda means, not that great Ananda. So what does this Anuttama mean? Avidyamanaha uttamaha yasmat saha anuttamaha. There is nothing greater than him to be compared to him. Therefore, he is called anuttama. Similar to the meaning of anupama. Anupama, he is the best. Now, what can you compare the best with? There is nothing to be comparing him with along. We have seen this word also. I remember last month when we had met, I was explaining this piece of poetry. In Hindi it was. So this lover compares his beloved's face. He says, you are like one of a kind. And this one of a kind, it is like, you cannot compare it with anything at all. Because anything that you compare, it falls short. So the poet there says, तुझे मैं सूरज जो कहता, पर उसमें तो आग है. I can call your face as glowing as sun, but sun is not, worthy of even comparing, because sun has, the heat or the fire in it. You are very pleasant, so I cannot compare sun. Do you remember the song? हाँ. तुझे मैं चांद कहता था, उसमें तो दाग है. I can call you as, the moon, which has all the pleasantness to it, but it has those black blemishes on it, but your face doesn't have it. So anything that I take for comparison, it feels short, that it cannot be compared unto you. He is the best, uttama, and nothing is worthy of comparing to him, therefore he is anuttama. He is not talking from the standpoint of Paramatma, he is talking from the standpoint of the world, that there is nothing worth comparing to him, therefore he is anuttama. There is nothing other than him which can be called as best. So from the world's standpoint, he is the anuttaman, uncomparable. Avidyamanaha uttamaha yasmat saha anuttamaha. Avidyamanaha, it's not that, you can't compare. There is nothing to compare. It's a complete absence of, because he is the only best. And nothing else can be compared to that, uttama, the best. Avidyamanaha uttamaha yasmat saha anuttamaha. And the scriptures also say, yasmat param na paramasti kinchit. And in Bhagavad Gita he says, natvat samotyabhyadikah kutonyaha. That there is nothing in comparison to the Lord and his prowess and his glory. Therefore he is called Anuttama. So imagine that Swami whose name is Anuttamananda. I think there is nothing else to compare him with. That glory of Gurudev he is Anuttamananda. And then he continues, he says, Ishvaro vikrami dhanvi medhavi vikramakramaha anuttamo duradharshaha. 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 Dharshayatum na shakyate iti duradharshaha. That which cannot be attacked. That which cannot be, beaten. Or that which cannot be stormed upon. That which cannot be attacked. Now most of these Daitya, Asuras, what do? They take such a pleasure and spend such a time. The quality time they spend in so much of abhyasa that they do to gain these peculiar kinds of boons. Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha, what kind of boons that they asked for. Hiranyakashipu asked that he should not be killed in the daytime nor in the night time. He should not be killed inside nor outside. He should not be killed by by a man or a deva, not a deva, or an animal. And he goes on with a list of one after the other, a peculiar kind. And then once that boon is given, first thing that they do is kick Indra out of his Indraloka, and then aim and attack Vaikuntha and Vishnu constantly. Because those who are the administrators, those who are at that level of managing, they are constantly criticized. In today's cubicle bureaucracy that we see, they will be constantly criticized, however good and however impartial they are. They'll have this, the asuras will have their pet peeves, and they think they can attack. What did Ravana do? He offered one after the other. He offered 9 heads into the Havan to please Shiva, so that he can attack and plague the entire world, so that he can attack Vishnu. That was once. The second time he pulls out his own, he has to, at the time of that puja, the same puja, in the offering is done. After the offering is done, at the time when he has to play Veena, or he has to play, when we have the Punah puja, Geetam Sravayami, Nrityam Darshayami, Chhatram Achhadayami, Chamaram Vijayami. So at that time, Geetam Sravayami. So Nandi teases him that, oh, bare voice you are going to sing without any accompaniment. Now look at this fellow, how brutal he could be. That he pulls his intestines out and holds them in his hand to make a string of it and plays Veena on those strings as an offering to the Lord. You need to have courage to do all that. But doing all these peculiar sadhanas for what? So that I can attack this Vishnu and conquer him. There are so many asuras who wanted to do this. Did anybody get close to them? Therefore, he says, he is recognized as Duradharshaha. Duradharshaha darshayitum na shakyate iti Duradharshaha. The one who cannot be attacked. You can only think of attacking him, but he cannot be attacked. Look at it this way. With what are we going to attack? Everything that has been created in this world by him, and anything that is created by him, do you think it will be a worthy tool to destroy him? It will fall short anyway. Therefore, he is Duradharshaha. Anuttamo Duradharshaha Kritagnaha. It is not to be understood with today's language, wherein in today's language Kritagnyata means gratitude. Kritagna means the one who does not recognize the gratitude. He is called Kritagna. So here it does not mean Kritagnya means gratitude, but the original meaning of that word is Krita Gnyaha. Gnyaha, the one who knows everything that is being done, expressed and not expressed. Now when you look at your own child, the child may not say things to you, But the child, the way the child looks at you, behaves with you, talks, your own child, can't you figure out what is going on in their head? Yes or no? Right? I was at somebody's house and this mother started saying, Swamiji, in my house there is a ghost. That was a tall claim for a mother to claim. But she had that, funny bone in her. I couldn't have expected anything less than that from her. I said, what do you mean? She said, can you come with me? So she took me to the kitchen floor. And I said, this stain on the carpet, I have been trying to find out for the past 2 days who is the designer for this. I asked my husband, I asked my children, I tried to find out. Everybody says that they don't know. If nobody knows, there must be some ghost who must have done it, right? I see the effect. And there is no cause for it. Do you know that ghost? Yes, very well. With your own kids, you can understand what they have said, what they have not said, what they have done, what they have not done, just by looking at them. You ask them, did you eat? You come back from office and you look at them and say, did you eat? Yeah, kind of. And they say that, you know very clearly. And they must have snacked on all the unnecessary things, or most probably they have had a popcorn or chips or such kind of unnecessary junk. So you get down to that. Really? Well, the way they talk itself, you can very clearly see. When we mortals can look at our children and we can easily guess this. As Paramatma with his skill, with his power, don't you think he knows what is going inside and outside around us? And then, not realizing this, we come to Bhagavan, we come to his altar and say, Bhagavan, in my entire life, I have not done in a single mistake. Why am I going through this pained, troubled moment? You can look at all gods. What is their right hand position? What is the right hand position? It is not a blessing. The way I look at it, yes. Keep quiet. Stop. I know exactly what is happening in you and outside you. Stop complaining unnecessarily. And we still continue. So you can look at the second hand of his. What is it telling? Chal. Keep moving forward. Right? One hand this, one hand this. So this hand is like, get going. Enough of complaining. Right? And I'm asking him. Because he seemed to have understood it. Don't ever go to that Lord praying for making the life easy. But instead, pray to have the strength and courage to go through life as it unfolds. Oh Lord, nobody else is to be blamed for. where I am, what I am experiencing is purely my own creation. Let me not complain. Give me the strength and courage to go through it and successfully handle it, so that I don't end up creating another pattern of such sequences around myself in my own life. Because technically speaking, Lord, you know everything very clearly, inside out. In fact, right at this moment when I am speaking to the Lord can not just read our words, but He can also read our intent behind the words. We cannot fool Him. I say one thing and mean something else. We all hear the story of Dhruva, Prahlada, Nachiketa and such stories, right? Let me tell you the story of Dhruva. I know you all know the story. After praying to Bhagavan for 6 months, he is so purified. Then he says, the reason for which I left home, the intent with which I had started this entire sadhana to see the Lord, to please the Lord, so that I can get the love and the care of my dad, so that I can be chosen one by him. I don't care for it anymore. But luckily for that kid, he had only one desire. Only one. So Bhagavan, he says, I understand your desire, beta. That at this moment you do not have the intent. But when you started this particular process, you started with the intent. And I know that intent. And as your Lord, as your Bhagavan, it is my duty to fulfill all your desires. Consciously entertained or unconsciously entertained. Can you get a flash of your own life? How many desires did we churn? Wish I could be the president. Wish I could be the multi-millionaire. Wish I could be that. Wish I could be this. Wish I could. For Dhruva, it was just one desire, and Bhagavan said, fulfill this one desire of yours, I'll take you unto me in my service eternally. And he did that. He fulfilled that desire, completed it, and went to the Dhruva Loka. Went to the Dhruva Loka. Imagine, in this very life, how many have we churned? Do you think the Lord doesn't know all that? Let alone children. When somebody that you meet and they fake a smile, they didn't mean to smile, they didn't mean to be friendly, but they just faked it. Don't you see the phoniness in it? Of what their intention is and what their action is, there is a disparity between both of that, and you can very clearly gauge that. Can't you? We as mortals can gauge not just our children but others as well. Don't you think Bhagavan very clearly sees it when he is sitting right in our own heart? Therefore he is called Kritagnaha, the one who knows everything in and out. And this word, in a very colloquial usage, became understood with the meaning of gratitude, because in our culture, you do not forget the good done by people around us unto us, and we pay it back. And in that attitude of paying it back, you consciously remember, you are awareful, you are alert when you are receiving it. And because of that awareful reception or receiving that benefit from the world around, when you give it back, It is not just a mere, thank you, but it is with that paying it back with complete, pun intended, interest. And with that intensity and interest, you give it back because you recognize the help and support that you have received and you stand by. Therefore, that attitude is called gratitude. Oh, beautiful topic. Attitude of gratitude. It's a good topic. It just clicked. Kritagnaha. Then next word is kritihi. Kritihi. Patra pushpadi alpamapi prayachhatam moksham dadati va purusha prayatnaha kritihi. Kritihi, whenever we get the inspiration to do something noble, by mistake it happens, not that we intend doing it, by mistake sometimes it happens that there is that amazingly noble thought that passes by, and it just not passes by, but we feel quite compellingly inspired to jump into action and fulfill that particular inspired wave of moment. So whenever that inspired moment happens, Bhagavan says that it is recognized as kritihi, that which compels you to jump into action to fulfill that expression of nobility. That fulfilling, compelling force from within is called kritihi, that which expresses into an inspired format of action, which expresses nobility. So whenever such noble thoughts pass by, buddhim buddhimatam asmi, that among the intelligent I am their intelligence. So whenever we are connected to that intelligence, it is the Lord who is expressing through our actions. Usually we are short-circuited. That buddhi reveals itself only after the action has been done. But here Bhagavan says, buddhim buddhimatam asmi, I am the kritihi. Then he says, the second meaning of kriti is that of all the efforts that we put, what is the lakshya? What is the goal? Successfully being happy. Happily being successful. Both. Because those who are happy need not be successful, and those who are successful need not be happy. Successfully being happy and happily being successful. And when can it be gained? The entire literature says that all these efforts, however tiny, however large, that each human being puts, kritihi, is to reach, is to attain to that absolute reality alone. But misfires it in all directions. But the intention is to reach that supreme alone. So in and through all kritihi, all karmas done, that which is intended to be gained, that which is the goal of every single action, is that Paramatma alone. Yadyat karma karomi tattad akhilam Shambho tavaradhanam. That, O Lord, is nothing but your aradhana, your puja, your service alone. Imagine when our whole life, entire life changes to that mode, that intent, that I am not doing it for some selfish desire, some selfish fulfillment, but I am doing what I am doing so that it is an expression of service unto that Lord alone. Whether I am taking care of children, whether I am taking care of the house, family, spouse, whether I am taking care of my job, responsibility, duty, every act of it is nothing but the act to serve that Lord in various formats alone. Yadyat karma karomi tat tat akhilam. Akhilam, the entirety of it, is nothing but an offering unto that Lord alone. Bhakti does not mean that, when I sit in front of the altar doing the Shodashopachara Puja or the Arati, and in today's world they take it to the other extreme, wherein they discard and they say that, this process is waste. Whatever I am doing is my worship. That also, but you need not discard this. Sometimes ativrishti or anavrishti, never in balance. Ativrishti is, what do you call it? Downpour, or what do you call it when it is? Excessive downpour को क्या बोलते हैं? English is suddenly freezing in my head. भाड़ को क्या बोलते हैं इंग्लिश में? इंग्लिश में क्या बोलते हैं बोला मैंने? Floods. हाँ, thank you. That would be a flash flood, right? So ativrishti is flash floods. Anavrishti is drought, famine, never in balance. And nowadays I see lot of postings and lot of emails running around that, there is this huge container full of milk being poured on Shivalinga, and right next to it there is a beggar who is in a shabby condition. I said, why waste milk when you can feed? I said, why has it to be always, instead of? I can take your photo sitting in a McDonald's or something, eating all that, and say, why waste on this? Can you not donate? It is a little imbalance, that it need not be instead of. While you do this, recognizing that very Paramatma that you are worshipping in and through everyone that you see around, and reach out and help. So as much as it is important to see that Paramatma in that form, to see that very Paramatma in and through all forms is equally important. And to maintain that balance, to see that Paramatma inside and outside. Just saying that I see it only outside and not inside, it doesn't create that balance. It has to strike that chord of balance. Neither the flash floods nor the drought. Somewhere in the mid path wherein it is constantly sprinkled, constantly entertained that thought that whatever act that I am performing, whether it is at the altar, whether it is at interactions, whether it is dealing with the world around, every act is an act of dedication, is an act of seva, is an act of worship to that Paramatma alone. Yadyat karma karomi tattad akhilam shambho tavaradhanam. And such one, such lakshya is called kritihi. Why is it all done? to recognize that Paramatma as the self within. Therefore, he is called Atmavan. Atmavan, the self within. If the entire Hindu scripture just mentions that Paramatma is in that particular form alone, and this is my opinion, I probably would have chosen to be an atheist. If the definition was the Paramatma is limited only to this form and your worship to this form alone can be called as devotion, I have probably given up all these processes and call it quits long time ago. In fact, I had quit already. Lucky that I met Gurudev, that he straightened it by saying that that which you are worshipping, which you call as God, is nothing but your own self. All these are pointers to take you towards that self within. And whatever questions you have for God, once you realize, ask them yourself to yourself. Why did God create this world? Ask yourself. Why is there such disparity in this world? You know what? First realize and then ask that to yourself. Because where is that God? He is not there somewhere up there. He is right here as this very self, as this very conscious self. Atmavan. Ishvaro vikrami dhanvi medhavi vikramakramaha anuttamo duradharshaha kritagnyah kritiratmavan. Continuing further, repeat the shloka. Suresha sharanam sharma Vishwareta prajabhavaha ahas samvatsaro vyalaha pratyaya sarvadarshanaha. Sureshaha sharanam sharma Vishwaretaha prajabhavaha. Sureshaha. What does Suresh mean? Sureshaha means Suranam, Devanam, Ishvaraha. Iti Sureshaha. Suranam, Devanam, Ishaha. The one who is the Lord of all the Devas. That is a very beautiful definition of this word, which can be understood both at a microcosmic level and macrocosmic level. Macrocosmic level, it would be the definition of Paramatma. That all these denizens and all the demigods, they are also gods, but they are department heads. One is the department head of rain and irrigation, Varuna Deva. One is a department of lighting, which is sun. The moon, it actually has the herbal impact, that it is the one which nourishes the plant kingdom. So it has to, the plant kingdom has to be exposed to that moon's rays. There are some special medicinal plants which after a certain count, like after 15 days of its sprouting, that it has to be plucked and that has to be dried specifically in a moon's waning or waxing period as per the herb, to get the highest potency of that particular herb, because the moon's rays have that enhancing effect on the herbs. So there is Vayu. What does Vayu do? I mean, yes, he brings in the life breath, but he is also considered as the cleaning agency. He keeps everything pure and clean. That is his job. If the air doesn't go inside, that which is already inside, which is not clean, has to be brought out, right? So he has to go in with the clean and come out with the unclean, constantly cleaning it. When the room is feeling stale and stuffy, what do? Open the both windows, open the both doors on both sides, and the cross ventilation, what does it do? It cleans. So they are all departmental heads. Of these, who is the most feared one? Lord Death. He is the most feared one by us. All of them are kept under control by Indra. That's why there is one tag name for him also. He is also called Suresha, because he is the boss of all these gods. Therefore, he is also called Suresha. But even that boss has to constantly report to his boss. So there is this story that there was this beggar who would come. And it so happened that he came one day when Akbar had just finished his namaz. And after having finished his namaz, as he was stepping out, he saw this beggar. And he felt really good, because that beggar was a Hindu beggar. So he said, after doing my namaz, he tells this to brag this to Birbal. After doing my daily namaz, I support that Hindu beggar. You know Birbal, right? His ways of working were very charming. One day, he asked that beggar that, why wait here? You can go inside, the king knows you. And if somebody stops you, tell them that I have allowed you to go inside. Go stand next to the worship place where he is worshipping. So this beggar goes there and he stands right next to the place where he was doing his namaz, and he overheard that, Parvardigar, that, you are the Almighty and I bow down to you, please protect me, please give me, and things like that. That day, Akbar came out after his namaz and he saw that the beggar was not there. And he waited for 2-3 months and still no sight of this beggar. He said, Birbal, we should go find out what happened to this beggar. So they sent out people to identify him. They identified his house. And they finally, Akbar came and, why have you stopped coming, He said, that day I came into your place. I saw you begging in front of somebody else. So I made a conscious decision that if at all I have to beg, why beg from another beggar? I can beg directly from him. So all these gods report to Indra, and Indra reports to that Paramatma, and he constantly is in scare of that Paramatma who keeps them under leash, and they constantly work. So he is called Suresha, Paramatma, at a macrocosmic level. At a microcosmic level, Dyotanat Indriyaha. All our Indriyas are also called Deva. Why? Because they illumine their specific field of objects. The eyes illumine forms. The ears illumine sounds. The mouth illumines tastes. The nose illumines smell. Dyotanat, that which illumines. And all of these are controlled by the Indra. Who is the Indra here? The Buddhi. The Buddhi is called Indra. Even that Buddhi is functioning to cognize or the lack of cognition in the presence of that awareness. Therefore, that awareness is called Sureshaha. See, what a beautiful meditative word. Both at a macrocosmic level and at a microcosmic level, it is the same significance. That it is that Paramatma who is illumining this entire universe, is the illumining factor right here. Therefore, he is called, therefore, he is recognized as Sureshaha. Charanam. In various names of gods or in the chants of gods, we have this word Sharanam. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Swamiye. What do you say? Sharanam Ayyappa. Sharanam does not just mean that I take refuge at your feet, but Sharanam is also the name of the Lord. Why? Those who seek refuge at the feet of the Lord, he never questions what qualification you hold. That if you have gone through the Sanskrit college for 14 years and mastered Sanskrit language, that is when you are allowed. Or if you have earned quite a few $1 billion, that is when you are allowed into my court to seek refuge. Or if you have been, and nothing of this qualification ever matters. In front of the Lord, to seek that refuge, to seek that Sharanagati, he does not have pre-qualifiers. Whoever we are, whatever is the kind of background of backlog that we have, he does not care. Reminds me of another story of Akbar and Birbal. So Akbar, picks up his child and looks at Birbal and says, "Isn't my kid the cutest one?" Birbal says, "Yeah, you think so." He only had the courage to say that. You only think so. Or you think so, something like that he said. So Akbar got so mad at him and said, "How dare you call my kid not cute?" He was about to put him in the prison. But then he understood it. My Birbal, I'll give you 24 hours to prove this. After 22 hours, Birbal comes back. He said, "Raja, I'm ready. Chalo." So they turn incognito and he takes him through the entire Delhi city, into the outskirts of Delhi city. He makes him walk and goes to this dirty place, really a ghetto kind of a place, Jhopadpatti, all the slums. And he goes through all that stinking place. And there, at the end of it, there was this little kid playing in the pond of little gutter water, splashing around. And the mother who is searching for that kid comes and calls out, "Raja beta," and then this kid gets up with that all that mud and slush, and he gets up and runs to that mother And the mother picks that. He said, "You are my cutest. You are my." She goes on with such a liberal. Uh, then he looks at the king. Said, "Did you get the point? That for a parent, however the child be, you can never disown your own with disgust. They will still appear the cutest." So for the entire creation, to stop complaining that I have done so much sins, I don't know what Bhagwan will do, I have done so many things, I what. That is why I hate that song from the bottom of my heart. There are only few things that I hate with that kind of intensity. They sing, "Maili chadar ओढ़ के आऊं कैसे तेरे द्वार, धोके आओ धोखेबाज." I am so dirty, I am so filthy, how can I come to you, O Lord? Lord doesn't look at those qualifications. However you are, the moment you have the intensity to come to the Lord, He accepts you as is. Come with that intensity. He protected an animal in the form of Gajendra. All that he had to do was ask the Lord, "O Lord," and he came. Various forms that reached out to the Lord and seek for that help. And he immediately pronounced there, right there. Artanam artihantaram iti iti karanatvat sharanam. Because whoever calls his name with that intensity, whoever thinks of that Lord, he does not have a pre-qualifier saying that only such people can take Sharanagati. In fact, the same thing that I can say even of Gurudev. Once we were about 8-10 of us, about 8 or 10 of us, this was in Siddhabari, we had done something really mischievous in the camp, in youth camp. Of that entire group, I was the youngest one, but our entire group was caught red-handed doing that mischief. We were immediately produced in front of Gurudev. We knew Gurudev, to be presented in front of him, it was like a terror. And we were not having just butterflies, it was dinosaurs running inside, flying inside. It was such an uncomfortable feeling. So Gurudev was about to retire, to his bed. And this manager, pulls us there and he knocks his door and he slams it inside and says, "These rogues have to be, what do you call it? They have to be removed from the camp. And you should, ask them to come onto the stage, call them by names, and then you should kick them out of the camp. Because this is what they were doing." Gurudev looked at him and then turned. Very comfortably at his own leisure, he turned and looked each at and then looked back at the manager. Chinmaya is not for goodies. Those who are already considering themselves as good. If not for Chinmaya, where will these rascals go? It is my job to change them. As of this Shivaratri, of the 10 of us, 8 of us are now sannyasis. There were 3 of us left, and that also got finished. Sharanam, those who seek that refuge, and you see that happen readily, that he comes forth and protects. So that he gives us an opportunity to grow. Suresha Sharanam. And what is the growth that we are talking about? Sharma. Title Sharma is only a title left these days. Unlike any other title. Chaturvedi, Trivedi, Dvivedi. Some of the Rajput families, they have this grand names. Raja, some Singh. Or in the Kerala, they have Raja Ravi Varma, Ravindra Varma. They have Varma means a king, and Raja is a title. Only titles left. Similarly, Sharma is only title left. Who is called Sharma? The one who has got both aspects of being at peace and basking in the glory of joy. In the society, those who had the title of Sharma were not just the people who had that peace and joy, but were the ones who were the epitome, who were the very powerhouse of that peace and joy for the entire society. Sharma means Paramananda Rupatvat Sharma. The one who is at peace and who is blissfully happy. So why do we seek that Sharanagati? So that we are at peace and we are happy. And he is of that nature to provide that peace and that happiness. Suresha Sharanam Sharma. Vishwaretaha. Vishwaretaha, the very seed of this entire universe. What is the depth of its meaning? That we will see tomorrow. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.